world of ancient myths, where gods walked freely among mortals and the borders between life and death were as fragile as morning mist. A tale unfolded that tested courage, loyalty, and the very strength of love. This was the story of Xena, the mighty warrior princess, who once again found herself caught in the eternal struggles that bound gods and mortals alike. It began when a haunting call reached Xena from beyond the mortal realm. Marcus, the man she had once loved, had perished long ago, yet his spirit lingered, unable to find peace. From the underworld he sought her aid, for the balance between life and death was threatened. In that shadowed realm, Hades, the ruler of the dead, had fallen into peril, and chaos threatened to unravel the natural order. Marcus's plea was not born of selfish longing but of dire necessity, for the living world itself trembled as the dead sought release from their eternal domain. Xena, ever bound by duty as much as by love, could not ignore such a call. Though her heart had long been hardened by countless battles, she carried within her a flame for Marcus, a flame that had not been extinguished even by the chill of death. To journey into the underworld was to walk where mortals were forbidden, yet she had never feared to tread paths where others would falter. The task demanded more than bravery. It demanded the acceptance that she would walk among the dead, where her sword might prove useless, and where even her indomitable will could be tested by forces beyond mortal comprehension. The passage to that realm lay hidden, a doorway to the world of shadows where mortal breath could scarcely be sustained. With determination, Xena entered the underworld, crossing the veil that separated the living from the dead. The land stretched before her in shades of gray, bathed in a silence broken only by the whispers of lost souls. Rivers of despair carved through the barren land, and wailing figures reached out with hands of smoke and memory. This was not a place meant for the living, yet the warrior princess pressed onward, her every step guided by the thought of Marcus's trust in her. She soon discovered that Hades himself had been bound, imprisoned by dark betrayal. Someone had seized control of the underworld's balance, plotting to open the gates and allow the dead to wander freely among the living. Should that happen, no boundary would remain between life and death. The world above would drown in terror, haunted by restless spirits unable to find rest, and mortals would come to envy even the silence of the grave. Marcus appeared before her, his form faint and shimmering, no longer of flesh but still bearing the strength of his love. His eyes carried both sorrow and determination, for he knew his place was no longer among the living, and yet he could not abandon Xena to this task. Together they sought the truth, moving through the perilous pathways of the dead, where every corner held sorrow and temptation. Spirits who had once known them reached out, some with longing, others with hatred, but Xena pressed forward, her hand never straying far from the hilt of her sword even in this land where steel offered little comfort. The heart of the underworld lay before them, a great chamber of fire and stone, where Hades' throne stood silent, and the chains of betrayal bound him. It was revealed that the treachery came from within his own ranks, a trusted servant who sought dominion over both life and death. With the gates forced open, chaos spilled across the borderlands. The living would feel the chill of ghostly hands upon their necks, while the dead would wander endlessly, robbed of peace. Xena and Marcus fought not with blades alone but with resolve, courage, and devotion. The battle was as much against despair as it was against treachery. Marcus, though bound to the realm of the dead, lent his strength to Xena, guiding her through the shifting illusions and treacherous pathways designed to break her spirit. Again and again, the underworld tested her with visions of regret, of those she had slain, of the darkness she had once embraced in her past life as a warlord. Each vision threatened to drag her into despair, to remind her of sins that could never be undone. But Marcus's presence was a beacon, reminding her that redemption lay not in forgetting the past, but in choosing again and again to stand for what was right. In the end, Xena confronted the betrayer, shattering the chains that bound Hades and restoring order to the realm of the dead. Her sword struck true, but more powerful than steel was her unyielding will to protect the balance of the world. Hades, once freed, reclaimed his dominion and sealed the gates once more, ensuring the dead would remain at rest. Yet the victory carried with it a sorrow no weapon could mend. Marcus, who had stood beside her, could not remain. He had walked again in the light of her presence, but his time in the world of the living was over. For a brief moment, the two stood together, knowing the bond they shared transcended even the grip of death. His spirit shone brighter, as though the act of selflessness had lifted him toward peace at last. Xena, though strong, felt the weight of parting heavier than any armor she had ever borne. She had saved the living, restored the underworld, and proved again her worth as a protector, but the cost was personal. Marcus faded into the realm of spirits, no longer bound by unrest, his soul at peace. He left her with the gift of knowing that love could endure beyond death, that even in the darkest places, light could be found. When she returned to the land of mortals, the sun felt warmer, the wind gentler, yet her heart carried the echo of loss. Those who saw her stride forth from that hidden passage did not know the trials she had faced, nor the love she had once more laid to rest. They saw only the warrior princess, strong and resolute, her armor gleaming, her eyes focused upon the horizon. But within her, the memory of Marcus remained, a reminder that even the fiercest warrior is not untouched by grief, and that strength is often born from love as much as from battle. Thus, the tale of Xena and Marcus in the underworld was woven into legend. It was not merely a story of swords and gods, but of love enduring beyond mortal bounds, of courage tested in realms unseen, and of the eternal struggle to uphold the delicate balance between life and death. The bards would tell it in hushed tones, reminding their listeners that even the mighty warrior princess carried within her heart a story of loss, and that in her battles she fought not only for the world but for the love that once gave her hope. And so the warrior moved on, her path stretching endlessly forward. Villages awaited her protection, tyrants awaited her justice, and the gods themselves awaited her defiance. Yet in quiet moments, when stars shimmered above and silence wrapped around her, she would remember a voice that had called her from beyond, a man who had trusted her with the fate of the dead, and a love that neither time nor death could erase.